we are actually the very first ship that goes there in October. So not only you're so remote there, you don't see anyone else. There's literally no one else there. And the scientific stations are not open for the summer yet either. So you literally, like hopefully nothing happens because there's no rescue here.
I cannot believe all of the places you've gone, and especially all your times in Antarctica and the crazy things you've done there. It's so unbelievable to me.
It's such a unique place. I feel like you can take a photograph, but you can't really like relay that feeling of just sitting in the morning, drinking your coffee and watching icebergs that are just going past the ship. It's a really unique experience.
To me, I've never been there, but to me, it looks like a whole different planet when you're there. Like, I can't imagine. And
Oh, for
with
sure.
so few people, just like, oh, I feel like you have a whole nother level of peace when you go there. Just like, you just have the sounds of nature around you.
Yeah, and the really cool thing about this trip, so this is a skier trip that goes to Antarctica. And it is the only kind of like commercial ski trip that goes there per year. And like later in the summer, like the snow will melt. Like there won't be that much snow as what we see when we go to Antarctica now. We are actually the very first ship that goes there in October. So not only you're so remote there, you don't see anyone else. Because from what I've heard that, like if you go to Antarctica in like February, there's other ships around. You are, you do feel like you're so far from everything else. But with this, there's literally no one else there. And the scientific stations are not open for the summer yet either. So you literally, like hopefully nothing happens because there's no rescue here. Like we are the only 150 people on the Antarctic Peninsula at that point, which is insane. There's a lot of expeditions that go to Antarctica, but they are just kind of like your regular, almost like a cruise ship, if you say it. So the ships are much smaller that cross the Drake Passage, but normal expedition, people just get out on a little rubber boat on the Zodiac and they kind of like cruise around, they look at the penguins, they get back on the ship. But this is the only ship that takes skiers to Antarctica. So there's about, let's say, 150 guests plus the guides that that are on this ship, and we are the only people that get to ski Antarctica that year because I mean, like, there's other private companies that go there, much smaller than this ship. But it's really cool because like the people that go on normal expeditions, they don't get to climb these mountains. And as a ski ship, you get to go and climb these peaks and look at Antarctica in a very different way that most other people will get to see.
That's so cool to me. What's really inspiring about you to me is how like you're not just a photographer, you're also like specifically like an adventure photographer and do these really unique photo shoots. Like for example, the couple like in their ski clothes at the top of the mountain or the ones in Antarctica. What are they doing? They were getting like eloped maybe there in Antarctica or getting
Yes, yeah,
something.
they got married.
Yeah, they got married in, Antarctica, but I'm curious, like, what the process is for you as a photographer when you're there. Do you ski down, like, with them, or are you just on the sidelines?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of part of it, right? Like, I think if you want to capture adventures like that, in a way that you truly show what the adventure was, I think you have to be a part of it as well. And I think with what I do, for me, it's like it's important to love the sport or the adventure or anything that you're doing first, and then to be a photographer. So, for me, like all of these things that I do now, it didn't start with like, oh, I love photography. Let me go snowboarding. Like it came the other way around. So I loved snowboarding first, and then I started taking photos of it. I loved traveling first, and then I started taking photos. So I think in order to be good as an adventure photographer, you have to be good at mm, just passionate and knowledgeable about the adventure that you're putting yourself in first, and then you bring the camera gear.
So, how did you get started first as a photographer, videographer, drone pilot? Did you start out, like, from a young age, or did you discover it later on?
No, actually, I was given my first camera when I was 20. But before that, when I was in high school, I used to work for travel agencies, and I was always that person that would bring my camera on every adventure that we were on. And when I was in high school, I we didn't have iPhones with cameras. I used to have this little Canon camera that would fit like 16 photos on one memory card. But I always loved documenting the adventures that I was going on, and I think that for me kinda translated into being a photographer, and I was given my mom gifted me my first DSLR for my 20th birthday, and it was a Canon Rebel, and I remember thinking like, "Oh my god, this camera is like $600. I really hope that one day I can make money off of photography to, like, pay this back." Very quickly after that, I started working as a photographer. So I grew up in Serbia, I guess I didn't say that, and, I worked for, like, a magazine that would cover, like, the happenings in town and, where the parties were, going on, and then I moved to Chicago for college and very quickly started working in Chicago's nightclubs, and that was kinda like my intro, my, like, first real intro to photography and video was working music festivals and, concerts and nightclubs in Chicago.
Oh, that's so cool. And, after, college, did you move to Aspen, or did you move somewhere else before then?
Yeah, so I moved to Aspen after college, and I was just like most people that come here, I wanted to spend a winter season here before I moved on with my life, and that was 12 years ago. I never left. And um, being a music photographer coming out here was a hard transition because I actually knew nothing about being a landscape photographer photographing on the mountain and shooting sports. But like I said, I think for me, the love for things that I do translated into documenting it. So, very quickly, I just wanted to go and on a powder day and take photos of my friends skiing and snowboarding, and it started like that, and that got recognized by people who wanted to hire me to do that, and now I've been doing it for over 10 years.
That's incredible. I'm really, like, so inspired by your work. It's unbelievable.
Thank you.
Congratulations, by the way, for being, nominated for or being getting the award for the best local photographer in Aspen. That's insane.
Thank you. That was in 2023. Someone took the reins, but, it means a lot to be recognized by the community.
What has been your favorite videography or photography shoot that you've done?
Well, Antarctica obviously is, like, just I don't think anything compares to, not only having the opportunity to go there, but also going there as a photographer and saying that, like, "This is my job." But I'd say, like, when it comes to filming, definitely the latest 2 films that I made this year, are kinda like the biggest, like, most proud things that I've done,
Mhm.
especially Two Legs is Too Easy. It's the first film that I submitted to the festival circuit, and it got accepted to almost every festival that I submitted, or some festivals reach out to me as well. It's always been a dream to have a film in the Banff Film Festival, and this one made it in there. So it's a big proud moment for me to get to say that this film has made it around the world.
Yeah, that must feel amazing to for your first one. Like, you probably were, like, nervous or something, like, "Oh, I don't know. Is it gonna get accepted?" And then it gets accepted into all of them. And then I saw it showed in Paris at, like, the um, biggest cinema and was sold out. That's insane. The film festival, so that's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, so it got accepted to a traveling film tour in Europe. There's a French company that makes ski films, and every year they come out with a new film. And when they go on a tour, they pick another 4 or 5 short films to be a part of it. And my film got to be a part of that tour. and it got shown in over 100 theaters around Europe, which is insane to me. And I got to go to Paris and Geneva for the premieres, which were the biggest ones. And yes, in Paris, it was the biggest cinema in Paris. It sold out to like 2,700 people. And I had to stand on stage and talk and present my film, which was so terrifying to me. But it was a very, very interesting experience.
That's awesome, my goodness. Could you elaborate more on what that film was about? I saw, like, snippets of it, but for those like, the audience that is listening and also the process of filming it, Steve's his name, right?
Yes, he is an adaptive athlete, and he, had his, leg amputated when he was very young, and he has you see him on the mountain, he's skiing just on one ski, he doesn't use his prosthetic when he's skiing, and he's also a big mountain biker, and not only that he's out there skiing, he's a really, really good skier, like, very impressive. Um, Actually, he's, like, too fast for me because I'm a snowboarder. Like, filming with him is not easy, like, trying to follow him around the mountain. But ever since I met him, I really thought that his story deserved to be a part of these film festivals because I love watching mountain film festivals, and they're very inspiring stories, and I always believed that his story deserved to be a part of it. But, like, it was we had just met, I didn't want to approach him, like, awkwardly about, like, "Hey, I wanna make a film about you." But Steve and I just became really good friends, and we go skiing and mountain biking often, and I would just bring my camera every time we'd go out. And this has been 6 years in the making, and we always had this idea that, we're going to make a film, but I'm really glad that it took me so long because I've learned a lot over the years about making films because I've never done anything like this before, and it was hard to finish it because there's always more powder days, there's always more things to film, but this year I decided to finally, finish it and submit it to local film awards that we had here in March, and it won. It got, like, the first prize at this, local film awards, and from there, I was like, "Okay, it's time. It's time to give this film like, put it out to the world," and I started submitting it to film festivals, and it just took off from there.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And could you, also share about the 80 for 80 film that you did recently?
Yeah, so 80 for 80 has also been a couple of years in the making, and it follows now 82-year-old Nicholas Kuhn, who hikes the Highland Bowl, which is here in Aspen. So we have four mountains, and Highlands is very famous for its bowl, which is this hike to terrain that it takes generally about 40 minutes to hike up, and it serves all double black terrain. And it's a very kind of like special spiritual place for people to hike. And for a lot of people, it's kind of like a rite of passage. It's like you hike the bowl once, and it's a really big thing that you do. But for Nicholas, he has had this fascination with the bowl for a long time. And every year he sets these goals about how many times he wants to hike it. And when he was turning 80 years old, he wanted to hike the bowl 80 times in one season, which is insane. To put it in perspective, for 12 years that I've lived here, I've maybe hiked the bowl maybe like 20 or 30 times total. And this 80-year-old hikes the bowl 80 times in one season. So he he started with this goal for his 80th birthday, and then he turned 81, he upped his goal, and then he turned 82 and upped his goal. So it's been hard to finish this film as well because Nicholas keeps hiking. But I've decided that, like, okay, it's time to tell this story as well. So it's kind of like this inspirational story of how age doesn't have to define you in any way. And how if you keep moving, you can, your body and your mind can stay young and healthy, and you can just keep going.
That's, like, what I felt when I, was watching it, or not it, but the clips on, Reels. I really felt his optimism when I was watching the video and felt his positivity for the world, and, like, even though he's older, he's like, "Oh, well, I can't do anything about it. I might as well just keep living normally." And I think he said something, "You
Yeah.
have to live with passion and purpose." And he doesn't seem 80. He probably gives me maybe, like, late 60s is what he seems to be. He's just, like yeah, you said, like, mentally so young.
Yeah, yeah, I think staying active just keeps you young, right?
Yeah. And how did you meet him?
He is a ski instructor here in Aspen, and I work as a snowboard instructor here as
Mhm.
well, like along
Oh,
with
really? So
photography.
cool.
And so I've known him through ski school, but his son was the one who reached out to me and told me, "Hey, my dad has this crazy goal. Like, I think this will be interesting to capture." And I was like, "Yes, I love that." So I've been hiking the bowl with him for 3 years now. It's been really fun to join him on his little hikes. He tells me a lot of stories, so it's been a really fun adventure for me as well.
Oh, I can bet that would be so fun. Especially, like, I didn't know that you, hiked with him so many times. I guess you have to when you're filming it, but I didn't realize how like, how it was filmed over so many years. That probably becomes, like, such a close friend after that.
Yeah, for sure. And I say I lost both of my grandpas when I was really young, and I never
No.
had that kind of like growing up with a grandpa. So I've really enjoyed the time that I've gotten to spend with Nicholas because it was like, all right, it's just me and grandpa going for a hike. And like listening, he is definitely like well traveled and well lived and has a lot to say. So actually like making this film has been really hard because I have hours and hours of footage and audio from him. So when we would go hike, I would just put a microphone on it and I'd let him go hiking and then, I would end every day with like hours of audio and just trying to decide like what are the best pieces to put in there. And he kind of like, passes people and tells them they need to go grandpa's pace and, like don't let the grandpa pass you. So he's really funny as well. So it's been really fun working on this film.
That's so fun. I can't believe that's your job. Like, you're just going and getting to know this incredible person and snowboarding and, like, doing what you love in the mountains. It sounds like a dream.
Yeah, I do have to say these films are passion projects. So for me, there's some things that I really like stories that I really want to tell and that I think are interesting for people. And it doesn't come from the side of like, oh, this makes me money or anything like that. It's just something that I'm really passionate about and that I want to show the world because I think the world should know about Nicholas Kuhn. Like he is a very inspirational person, as well as Steve Berczewski from the film Too Late Is Too Easy.
Oh, that's so interesting that they're solely passion projects. I can see how they had so much success though in the beginning because I feel like you can see that passion that you have for the people and the stories you're telling and your job, and they're just incredible and you're so talented. But it really can come across. I think that's really important. But with Nicholas, when you were filming with him over the years, what was like the most I don't know, funny or unique or surprising thing that happened? Because I can imagine there's like so many moments you'll have together.
Yeah, actually, I did there has been quite a few moments, but one like, the funniest one for me was, he always says that he skis like he hikes, slow and steady. So like, if you do this hike really slow, you don't have to stop. You can just keep your pace and keep going. So that's why he always yells at people who are just going fast and taking breaks. But anyways, he says that he skis like he hikes, slow and steady. And one time I was following him and he was skiing so fast. I was actually like I he went like pretty far away from me. So he's kind of like far away in the shot at that point and he lost his edge and just like disappeared into the trees. And I was like, "Oh my god. Okay, is he alive?" And I like skied down to him and he hit a tree, like got in this like tree well and was completely stuck and he was like, I'm fine, I'm fine. It took him
Oh.
like 10 minutes to dig himself out of that, which was hilarious. So obviously that made it into the film, especially cut into the part of him saying like, "Oh, I like to ski slow.
Yeah.
Like I don't do anything irrational." So yeah,
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh, I would love to be there. Like, I feel like I don't even know this man, but he seems to have so much personality. It was just
Oh, yes.
every day you left your day, like, feeling like you had so many laughs.
100%, yeah.
So funny. And what about Steve? There, any moment that pops out at you? Because I guess that was even longer, a time together filming.
Yeah, Steve and I it's a little more, like, coordinated, I guess, because with Steve, I really wanted to show, like, the good powder days, so we wouldn't just go out on a regular day. It would
Mhm.
have to be, like, good conditions. But with him is really interesting because everyone knows him, like, you get on a trail lift, people are just yelling, "Steve the Pirate." That's what his Instagram name is, Steve the
Mhm.
Pirate, so that's how everyone kinda knows him. And it's just, like, it's very interesting to see just people's reactions to him, like, he'll be at the top of the chairlift and people just, like, you can see that they have so many questions, and some are very, like, awkwardly, like, ask him straight out, like, "Hey, how'd you lose your leg?" I'm like, "That is such an awkward thing to ask someone who you don't know." But there's, like, people love seeing him on the mountain, and he's
Mhm.
very inspirational to the community, so just, kinda like it's interesting, like, when I'm with him, he's constantly stopped, people are talking to him, they wanna, like,
Mhm.
they want to acknowledge how much they love him.
Mhm. Aw. 'Cause I'm so happy that he has such, like, a huge community, in Aspen, I guess, and around Aspen.
Yeah,
So
very for sure.
I'm so fascinated, like I said, by the shooting process that you have. Has there been any, like, really big challenging moments that has happened on one of your shoots or, adventures where it, like, went wrong and how did you overcome that?
I think for me, the biggest one is, like, actually trying to keep myself warm. One time I was shooting time lapses, I think, at the top of the mountain, and this, like, just, like, turned into a complete whiteout. I couldn't even see my way down, and, just, like, navigating things like that. Like, I'm always on the mountain with the giant heavy backpack and keeping the gear dry. My camera has had rough moments. But a funny story one time, we were taking photos, like, early in the morning on a powder day, just trying to take photos in untouched snow, and we were just in the ski run, like, kinda, like, off to the side, and I was setting up my camera, and I was waiting, for the 2 snowboarders that were with me to kinda, like, drop into the shot, and the skier comes through, and they're like, "Oh, hey, do you just mind, like, not going straight there towards the photographer?" And he just kinda, like, starts yelling, and he comes skis straight towards me, like, and I mean, like,
Mhm.
this whole run is open. You can ski the powder wherever you want. But he comes straight in front of me and starts stomping out the snow and just yelling like, "Meh," like, "What are you like, not letting me ski wherever I wanna ski?" And I was just like, "Okay, well, that's unnecessary, but I'll take some pictures of you." And then we made stickers with this guy who was just like with this, like, face of like, "Nah," and I took photos of him, yeah, and we made stickers and T-shirts like, "Jerry's stealing your powder." That was a funny one.
Ugh,
Totally
yeah.
unnecessary.
You woke up on the wrong side of the bed that day.
Yeah, for sure.
And also, I think it's important to hit on, like, the fact that you're also, like, a wedding photographer and elopement as well.
Being a wedding photographer is something that I've been doing for a long time. Just, like it started off as a source of income, but over the years, it has turned into this really fun, like, elopement photography thing to where, I've had couples who are like, I want to elope at sunrise on top of a mountain. So it really translated well into what I'm doing already. And I think I kind of like pushed my work toward that. So instead of just saying, like, okay, I'm going to photograph this wedding that's, just like a big wedding that's happening. Anyways, it's really fun as a elopement photographer because it's an adventure, like I got to photograph a couple that got married in Antarctica, like how unique. And like getting to climb mountains with couples, do like trail runs with couples who want to get married. It's really just an extension of what I'm doing already. So it's a really fun thing for me. And like people want to get married skiing, and it's really what I'm doing already. And now it's like, okay, let's let's add a little bit of a love story a love story in that too.
That's awesome. Honestly, I've never seen anything like that when I saw your, work. I never ever seen, like, a couple getting married in Antarctica or going, like, skiing down the mountain afterward. It's so niche and fascinating to me. I didn't know that you also did one with, trail running. What are some of the other ones that you've done other than the ones that we already mentioned?
Um, I'd say a lot of, like, hiking ones, those are the most common, which is still, like a sunrise elopement in Colorado, it's probably like 35 to 40 degrees
Mhm.
in the fall, so it's not, like what you would think of like, "Oh, yeah, beautiful nature, it's warm," like, no, the couples, they definitely are adventures, even if it's just drive to a spot, but then, I'm there in a puffy jacket with gloves on taking photos of this bride in a tiny little dress in this cold weather, but I think people who choose adventures like this really appreciate photography, and I think that's why for me, I really enjoy doing it because they're in it, and if I give them ideas for something to do or the time of the day to do something, they're really into it because they want that photograph. They want
Mhm.
photos under the Milky Way. They're ready for whatever it needs to be to get it done. So it's a really, really cool thing to do.
How fun. It seems like you're always on some fun adventure, right? Like, I still can't believe that. That's your work. So cool to
You
read
neither.
about that. That's a dream. Um, and could you also just touch on your work with climate change? Like, for example, your disturbance project that you did, that was really fascinating. Specifically, that it was done in black and white. And I saw some articles about it as well.
Yeah. So in 2020, it was kind of when COVID hit too. I think I had a lot more time to focus on personal projects, work versus, work projects. And it also happened to be the worst wildfire season we've had on record in Colorado. And there were some wildfires that were pretty close to home for me here. And it kind of like made me start thinking about, like we play and recreate in these areas that have changed even just in the last decade that I've lived here. Our winters are very different, and that affects the summers, and I think for a lot of people that just come here as tourists, they're not aware of how much the climate is changing in the mountains. So I wanted to figure out a way how to convey this, but not just in a way like, here's wildfire. And because I think people tend to kind of like when they see photos of just destruction, they're either like, oh, well, that doesn't affect me directly because that's not where I live, or um, it's kinda like this, alright, we're doomed, there's nothing we can do about this," like, this is already, like, way too past the points of where we can fix this. So the idea with this project was, like, how can I show something that, it's not already lost, but in a way for people to think about it, that this can have consequences with, the way that the climate is changing. And for me, I thought like, well, okay, I document these mountains all the time and I'm in the mountains and I had this idea to photograph everything that's in front of me through long exposures. So it's like, here's like the falling snow or the moving clouds or rivers and the snow, just kind of like showing something that we don't necessarily see in front of our eyes, because that's kind of like what climate is as well. Like, climate is not something that we're like, oh, like today is, 70 degrees, tomorrow is 30 degrees. Like, it's not a like, that's weather, right? Like, weather changes daily, but climate is something that changes over time. And for me to show these long exposure photographs was a way of like, this is not something that happens right in front of our eyes, but it happens. Like, it's something that's documented over time, but it's also photographs of like the beautiful things we have. It's not something that's like, here's destruction. It's like, here's something beautiful that if we don't do anything about it, we can lose this too. And the reason why I presented it in black and white is because black and white always just kind of like feels timeless, and it's just a way of showing things in a different light. And I think my photographs of nature generally are very colorful, and so it was a way to just be like, "Let's stop and think about this. It's something different, and it's more meaningful, deeper. There's more story to it than just like, here's a pretty landscape."
Love that perspective that you shared, about, like, when people see it, that it's not just gonna be, like, the negativity.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's important, like, as a landscape photographer and just someone who takes photos in nature here in Colorado or anywhere, like, I think we need to give back. Like, instead of just saying, like, okay, I'm gonna go and take photos of trail running or skiing or anything, I think, you know, knowing like the leave no trace principles and being kind of like educated how to go in the mountains and how to not do stupid things when you're out there. I think it's really important part of what we do, and I don't think of it in a way that like I educate anyone to do this, but I think just like sharing awareness of it, and like I think as photographers who live off of um these mountains and the nature that surrounds us, I think it's almost our duty to give back in a way.
Mhm. I can't believe you shed light on so many different aspects. Like you share people's stories, you shared the environment, how to help it, your personal passions. Like, no, I really love how well rounded you are. But also, like, I don't know how much you travel like outside of the U.S. now, but I saw that you were also like in Madeira. I think that's how you pronounce it, and other parts of the world. Would if you were to just like share a little bit more about the other travels that you've done outside the U.S. and or any really projects that you've worked on?
Yeah, I actually travel quite a lot. I Growing up in Serbia, traveling was a really big part of our lives, and I think Serbia is a very small country. If you drive 4 hours in one direction, you're going to hit a border. So it has always been a part of what I do, and I grew up studying languages because for me that was a way to get out of my country to be able to communicate with people. And I used to travel a lot growing up. I travel a lot now. Living a seasonal life in the mountains really allows me that. Because, usually like let's say like April, May, and then October, November are the months when there's not much happening here where I live. So I take opportunity to go and travel during those times. This year I went to Portugal in the spring, and the last 2 falls have been busy with Antarctica trips. I'm not complaining. And before that, last year, I did a art residency on a ship in the Arctic, which was a super unique experience. And we spent 2 weeks on a sailboat in Svalbard, which is the northernmost settled island in the world. Because it was an art residency, I proposed a project that was similar in a way to my disturbance project. I wanted to shoot these long exposures and kind of like document the Arctic in the same way. But once I got there, I was like, this place is mind blowing. And it's not like anything that I could have even imagined what it looked like. So I shifted the way that I documented that. And I think that's a big part of what we do as kind of like documentarians is you never know what kind of story you're going to find. So the project that came out of the Arctic was photographs of ice, just different shapes and forms and either like close-ups of or big wide areas. I got to fly my drone there, and aerial view of ice can be so mesmerizing because you will find some places where like the glacier and sea ice are meeting and it forms these like crazy shapes that you don't necessarily get to see when you're looking at it from like just the level of where you're standing, but looking at it with the drone was just like so cool.
How cool. Yeah, I saw the photos where, like, they had the different layers. It was so fascinating. It won an award, right? Your work did? With that photo?
Uh, yes, I did get the silver. it was like the Paris Photo Prize, which is to me a very like very prestigious award to get. So it got like the silver medal in this competition, which was really cool. And with this project, it was kind of like the same. It was still the same idea as disturbance, to where like I want to show the beauty of this place in a way that like I want to share awareness of, Svalbard is the fastest warming place on the planet. And in I think a lot of pictures that we get to see from this place is like, oh, here's some starving polar bears. And I think we've been seeing that for so long that people just are kind of like out of touch with it. And for me, it was just like I want to share the beauty of the ice and these ice forms. And this is also something that, like maybe in 10 years, there won't be any more sea ice in the Arctic because it's warming so quickly, like, especially in the summers. Like, even now, the ice melts completely throughout the summer, which did not used to be the case 40 years ago. And so for me, I think I keep coming up with these titles that are kind of like, because this project is titled A Farewell to Ice. So the titles are kind of like pessimistic, but then the photos are optimistic. So like maybe it's just kind of like finding that balance, or the title is supposed to make you think like, like what is happening here, but then you see the photographs and it's like this is what we want to save. This is what we want to preserve.
Mhm. Oh, I love that. I think it's really cool how you were like you're doing this like just for your passion projects, and like, you don't really know what you're going to like create. You just kind of meet people or go to these places, and then you have a general idea, and then they end up like you're not even going for an award or anything. The eye that you have for like photography, but you're just your passion in general. It's yeah, it really speaks volumes. Also, before we wrap up, I just wanted to ask if you had like any questions or anything that you wanted to share that we haven't touched on.
I wanted to share a funny story. This was like from a long time ago, but this one woman hired me to take photos of her snowboarding, to film her snowboarding. She was on the trip by herself and she wanted to show it to her husband how good of a snowboarder she is when she goes back home. So I went down the mountain with her and I realized she does not know how to snowboard. And I was like, "Oh, okay. How about you go take some lessons first? Let's figure this out. And then, like maybe we'll go and take photos." So I met up with her again 2 days later. She could do some like basic things. I'm like, okay, I can make this look good. I literally like put her on a box and like in a way and like take a picture of her as if she's doing like a cool trick, but then she really wanted photos on jumps, and I'm like, "You cannot go on jumps." And she's like, "But what if you go on jumps?" So she asked me to put her clothes on. I put on, like, her Gucci goggles, and we made it look like it was her. It was absolutely ridiculous, but I think she was stoked. And it was really funny because she was way shorter than me, but somehow I fit in her, like, tiny little jacket. And, yeah, so she went home super happy, showing her husband how good of a snowboarder she was.
There's no way. That is so funny.
That's probably one of the most ridiculous shoots I've ever
Yeah.
had.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing all these stories with me and sharing your experiences and all your incredible work. I'm so blown away by everything that you've done, that you're still doing. That you're really a force to be reckoned with.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for this. Like, it's been really fun chatting with you as well.
If any listeners have questions or want to reach out, how it's the best way that they can connect with you?
Yeah, well, I am the most active on Instagram. I, probably post, like, every day or every other day just because there's so many Antarctica photos to share, right? But yeah, like Instagram at Tamara Šuša Photo, or on my website. I recently brought my YouTube channel back to life after like 10 years of not using it. I'm planning on sharing some more videos from my Antarctica and Arctic travels. So hopefully that will be seeing the light of day sometime soon, and eventually these films as well. They are not available online because they're on the festival circuit, but hopefully soon that's going to make it on there too.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you so much. I'm really excited to watch them. But thank you so much. It's been really amazing. And good luck with all the rest of your projects. And yeah, I'm excited to share your story with everyone and have a great rest of your day, good weekend.
Yeah, thank you so much, and you as well.